The greens.
That's right. The green
Okay,
machine.
hi everyone. Welcome to the call. Welcome to the bridge call. And we've got another, it's organic. It's another exciting call. We've got a lot of amazing, very high vibrational light workers and star seeds here. And I would love that everybody participates. Anyways, we are loading these up to a YouTube channel called The Bridge Call. And I would love for you to smash that like button.
You tell them, girl.
And,
Yeah.
I have to figure out how to put those little buttons there. So please and thank you when you do that. Also, I have a friend in San Jose Hospital, Joanne, and from Franco Gang. She's in very critical condition.
Yeah.
And she's been fighting for her life for the last week or so. I think we've gone about 9-10 surgeries now.
Wow.
And she is, they thought that she would be able to come out of the unconscious state and get a blood transfusion, and she would take, but we're getting lots of notices that she's in critical condition. So if everybody could just send some love. I know that she's in good hands. There's a lot of people in the other side, Franco, Peter, and her son, and her parents. And, I know that she has a lot of people on the other side working with her, along with her amazing guides. So I know she's in good hands.
What's her name again?
Joanne.
Joanne. Okay. Very
Okay,
good.
so tonight we are going to talk about, is our past lives affecting our present life? So my amazing friend Danny here, who does awesome work and who's been very busy. Welcome, Danny, to the call, and please say hello and introduce yourself.
Well, I'd like to welcome everyone here today. Yeah, it's an interesting subject we're going to talk about tonight, because our churches and Catholics and Protestants, they don't believe in past lives. But the work that I do, I'm going to say 90% of the work that I do points or goes to a past life issue. So many of us don't realize how much of the things that happen to our lives, the aspects that we have, the issues that we have, come from a past life issue, including moles, scars that you're born with, that you're actually bringing those scars from the past life into this present life. I know, because I have one. So this is what we're going to discuss tonight. Okay.
Awesome. Okay. So what we'd like to do is maybe, Danny, do you have, would you just like to share about all that first? And then I can mute everybody out and then we can bring everybody back on.
Okay. I have the floor.
Yeah. So I just want to,
Okay.
if everybody can just mute yourselves out. Because if I mute everybody out, then I take Danny out with me. So what I want to do.
Hopefully not.
So
Can you still hear me?
There we go.
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Can everyone still hear me? Wave?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, very good. Okay, being a psychic and a medium, I deal with the present life here, energies plus the off-planet energies, those that have passed. But just in the last 4 or 5 years, these new gifts keep flooding in, and I've been able to do the past life work for people. So as I'm speaking to someone, they give me a vision of the past life with the issue that is here in this present lifetime. So if we want to go deep and we want to go to the basics of this, as a soul, we come here to learn lessons and to have experiences. because our soul, being non-physical, doesn't know what it's like to be in a body, doesn't know what it's like to have sun on your face, what ice cream tastes like, doesn't know any of that. So when it comes in here, it wants to experience A to Z. So all things that we would think very unpleasant to things that are amazing. So we're going to want to experience something like abandonment, something like having alcoholic parents, having loss of family and friends, and your soul agrees to experience that in that certain lifetime. Correct? So say in a past lifetime, and it was a serious issue that you needed to learn a lesson, but you refused to learn the lesson because you were in anger, fear, victimhood, and you refused to learn the lesson from that lifetime, and you refuse to forgive those that have harmed you. Your soul, when you pass, your soul says, and this is what I believe to be true, okay, you came to earth to learn this lesson, but you didn't learn the lesson. We're going to do it in another lifetime. We're going to give you the exact same situation again, and it's up to you to try and learn that lesson in the next lifetime. Okay? So what if you don't learn it in the second lifetime? Your soul says, well, okay, abandonment. I still can't get this thing about abandonment because I have such resentment and anger towards the parent that abandoned me. I just can't forgive them. Well, your soul says you didn't learn the lesson. Then you go into a third life and a fourth life. So many of the people that I work with say the issue was abandonment, and I see it's in a past life. They could have 200 lifetimes where they never learned the lesson. The highest I've seen is 700 lifetimes. They refused to learn the lesson. So in my session, I go into those past lives. I ask for permission. I bring in their spirit guides and their angels, and they show me those past lives. I get to see them. I get to see what they're wearing. I get an idea of what countries they came from. And so I have to bring in a lot of healing energies and speak to them so that they can understand it was a lesson that they came here to learn, to let go of any anger and resentment, and ultimately to forgive those that harmed you. Because in forgiveness is where the healing really happens. So with these past lives, I could be working on 200 past lives at the same time. They actually line up for me. So with the energies of healing, many times Lord Jeshua comes in to assist. And we get to the point where they realize the lesson that they had to learn, realize that they were not victims, that on a soul level, they agreed to that whole situation, which is a tough one for most people to understand. I agreed to this. I actually came down here to learn that lesson. So with the speaking to their consciousness and the energies that are pouring in, all the healing energies, they come to that realization, okay, I get it. My father really didn't abandon me, he actually was assisting me in learning a great lesson. And I need to understand that. And then ultimately they forgive. And it gets really intense because I feel their energies, I feel their pain, I feel their sorrow and anger, and then they release it. And once that's been done, I get confirmation. So then I go to the present lifetime. And now I say to this present consciousness, the past life has been resolved. It's time for you to resolve it in this lifetime. And that goes really quickly, like 3 minutes flat, it's done. And then the healing is complete. As long as they accept it completely. So when we go to past lives, there's so much going on there. If you were wounded or stabbed or something, sometimes you'll have that actual same scar from that lifetime. I have a large mole on my neck that you can't quite see. And it was a bullet hole that I received around the year 1800. Someone shot me through the neck. And because that's such a traumatic event, it's brought into future lifetimes. So it's round, it's the size of a bullet hole. So this proof that things from past lives come into this lifetime. Quick story. A friend of mine, his friend, he was a middle-aged man. He always had to have his collars open. Would never wear a scarf. Nothing could touch his neck. And so my friend suggested past life regression. Guess what? He was hung in a previous lifetime. And he had memories of that. He didn't understand it, but once he understood that it was a past life where he was hung, he could literally have something around his neck. So all of us have past life, all of us. Do you want to open it up for questions?
Sure.
Oh, one last thing.
Yep.
Some of your past lives were not on this planet. You've been on other planets and other lifetimes. So one lady that I worked with, as I was working on her past lives, the message was coming through that she was on many, many planets and many lifetimes. And whether or not you want to believe this, I got my pendulum out and I did it. She's had lives on 9,000 different planets. That's a hard one to grasp, that we don't only have lifetime here on this planet, but on many other planets.
So Danny, how many lives on average does a person bring forth in this life, this present life, like on average?
We have to remember we are the sum of all our past lives. All of them are rolled up into this lifetime. So what I see is most people have well over 1,000 lifetimes. I've seen some with 4,000 and 5,000 lifetimes. I myself have 12,500, which probably means I'm an old soul. So yeah, we have many, many lifetimes. And we come here as, especially those that are of the light, we've done amazing work for the planet in many of those lifetimes, correct? So when you speak to a lot of light workers, many of them feel, well, back in the 1200s, 1400s, they thought I was a witch because I was a psychic, I was a medium, and I got burned at the stake. Or they just hung me. And most of the light workers I speak to have memories of that we've done this work before. And because of the church and the way the system was, they thought we were evil. They thought we were contacting Satan when we were contacting the light.
Right.
So many of us in past lives have paid the price of standing in our light and wanting to be healers. Because I have memories of being.
Danny.
I'm sorry?
A question. You talked about old souls. About how many lifetimes would you have to go through to hit that category of being an old soul? We're talking thousands?
For sure, hundreds. And I'm going to say it's not because you've had many lifetimes. Did you learn from your lifetimes? Right? What did you learn from those lifetimes? Did you become spiritual? Did you connect to God?
You could be an old soul, but just not getting it.
Well, old soul to me tells me you're very wise and connected to spirit, and you have a knowing beyond knowing. That
okay, so old soul or young soul is not so many. It's not about number of lifetimes, but what you've learned, how successful you are with your lessons.
That's my opinion. I feel it very strongly because, so you get two people, each has 1,000 lifetimes. Which one's the old soul? Well, this one really didn't learn many lessons. thought she was a victim and blah, 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 right? Where this one learned all the lessons, became very spiritual, and they both had the same number of lifetimes, but one learned a lot of lessons and growth. We're going to say growth spiritually. And that would be the difference. You could have only, say, 100 lifetimes, but be an old soul because you learned a lot of lessons and you evolved spiritually and vibrationally. That's my take on it, unless someone else has another take on that.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You think, Alan?
I also heard too that to quantify the numbers to determine whether you're a young soul or an old soul, I heard that around 10,000 and more lives has you be an old soul. If you're in the 3,000 to 6,000, you're a younger soul. So there's also that aspect too. But like Danny is saying, you can come down and do 1,000 lives and get it, where another person can do 1,000 lives and
This doesn't get it.
not even close to getting it, right? So I
What do you
heard that,
think?
yeah.
What do you think, Alan?
Is he there?
Yeah, right there.
Okay, we just unmuted.
Yeah.
Well, I've been doing past lives for over 40 years with almost 10,000 people. Each person has about 4 journeys each, which is about 40,000 journeys. So I've got a little bit of idea about what goes on. And one thing about it too is that you can have up to 400 past lives on this earth and 388,000 lives on other planets before you came to Earth. And the Akashic Record books is the history of your lives on Earth. But when you finish your life on this Earth, that book goes to another book out in the universe called the Universal Planetary Library. And your life book, Akashic Record book, goes into that book. And that's the history of all your lives on all the planets you've been on. So you can have many thousands of lives that are recorded in that library. But on Earth, there's only about 400 or 500. I've had 850 lives on Earth because I enjoy being a human, but not so much Catherine. But you know, with the past life stuff, I worked with people at, one lady has 7 or 9 major allergies. When she came out of the past life, 7 of them disappeared, just from the awareness of where it comes from. I worked with almost 50 people that have totally healed migraine headaches they've had their whole life because it comes from a head wound in their past life. So you go back and heal the migraine then, and then it heals this lifetime. And the only one who can heal you is you, you know? And also a person will start to do a past life and all of a sudden end up in their home planet. And the reason they do that is because they're really having a hard time with Earth. They maybe even hate Earth. And then when they go there, they find out their mission and purpose, and they don't feel so alienated, and they actually come back and say, okay, I see my mission and purpose. It's okay to be a human now. And I've seen 669 different alien species and home planets with people when they go back and see that, including the dragon planet and a dolphin planet, all sorts of things like that. So it's quite unlimited. Everybody has their own past lives, as you say. Reincarnation, you know, in between lives, you can travel for 5,000 years and go different places. When you come back to Earth, though, you're stuck right back into the same reincarnation that you were before, the same timeline.
I agree with you, Danny, about an old soul is one who's learned the lessons. And at first I thought, you know, we got young souls and old souls on the planet. And I thought, okay, the old souls are one who's been here before, that have, you know, been on Earth and know how Earth works. And the young ones are the new ones. But I've come to the realization, and especially with what you shared, Danny, is like, I don't come to Earth that much, but I'm an old soul. And I've been on the other planets and done the work, and always you're always growing, and there's no end to that. But it makes sense to me that that old soul is someone who did the work, got the lessons, kept moving forward on whatever planet they were on. So I agree with your question, Lucie.
And how you know you're an old soul is you don't need anybody to keep you occupied. You're quite happy to be here. Nobody needs to entertain you. You're just quite happy to be a human being, and there's no need for a lot of stuff. Young souls are the other way around. They can't stand to be alone. they have to be out partying every night. They can't stand to be alone. So that's the difference there. Mhm.
And I would add to that, the young souls, we would know because of COVID, you can talk to them till you're blue in the face, they don't get it. Talk about
Right.
spirituality, goes,
Yeah,
they don't get it.
yeah.
I've
What
actually
did you
met
say? What did-
116 people. I'm sorry.
No, what did you say, Danny? You said to know that they're a young soul is that they don't get it, but what you said something before that.
Yeah, because they're not experienced, they don't have the knowledge. And so you can talk to them about deep spiritual ideas,
Oh,
and they just
right.
don't get it.
No,
like-
that's right. Yeah.
Don't get it.
It's like the old souls come with "you can't bullshit us" app. It's
Very
like
good.
we're aware. It's like hello. Whereas the young souls are caught up in
Material
the
thing.
mainstream media, the drama, and they don't step out of it. They can't think out of it.
Exactly. And we have a mixture.
I've actually met 116 people that I've been married to in a past life. And I'm glad they don't want any child support or alimony. And when I meet them this lifetime, I don't have to be married to them again. I don't even have to have an affair. And but there's an incredible friendship, because life after life, the most incredible thing you get is the love and the friendship. That's what carries on. And that's
That's
what
awesome.
brings tears to my eyes, that love never stops. It keeps on going.
Would you
And so
call
I meet them
these
this
your
lifetime.
soul family?
What's this?
Would you call these your soul family?
There's up to 12 people that are relocated into your area who are intimately connected to you, that are part of your soul family. But then there's 100 soul group, I'm sorry. There's 144 that are part of your soul family. But it can cross over. I was working with a lady in Odyssey and Ajax, and she was there with her mother. And she said, I have a question before we start the past life. My mother told me ever since she saw my boyfriend, my fiance, walking down the driveway, marry him. You got to marry him. He's just perfect for you. Just by the way he walked and could feel his energy. And so, she said, I wonder why. And so for a whole year, every day, are you going to marry him? You're going to marry him. So finally she said, okay, I will marry him. He's perfect. So she got engaged. We did the past life and found out that the mother was married to her boyfriend in the past life. And that's how she knew that she would be good.
That's funny.
Exactly. Because we switch roles in different lifetimes, right?
Exactly.
Yes, yes.
And what happens too is if you kill somebody in a past life, you took away their life in a past life, you have to give the life back this lifetime or another lifetime. So you took it away, you give it back. So we had a lady working with us last night. Her mother killed her in a past life, and she had to rebirth her this lifetime. But that's all she had to do. She just had to
Okay.
give her the chance to be human again.
Life.
So
Okay.
even in the womb, the mother could feel the baby saying, oh my God, it's her again. I thought I killed her. And when that baby's born, there's no love between the mother. And it just, and this little kid saying, I'm a lovely child. Why don't you love me? And the mother's role, the contract, was to learn about that child and who they were. Because when they killed him in the past life, they didn't care who they were. This lifetime, she has to find out her job, her karma, her contract is to find out what that person's like, what their personality is like, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, motivated, proud. If they don't do
So-
that by a certain period of time, the contract's up, and you would either say, well, I'll still respect you as my mother, but I won't be around you much anymore, or I'll just totally just banish you out of my life.
So can I ask a question? Danny,
Yeah.
so, or whoever, so, the idea we bring all and many memories we wake up to in this lifetime, like that's what I'm experiencing now, from past lives. So, like now all of a sudden I have this great love of herbalism, right? Which I know in a past life, that's why. And it's sort of, I'm able to answer some questions now where I'm like, how do I know that? So it's kind of coming from that. But the thing that I'm I wouldn't say the word struggling with, but I'm trying to understand, because it doesn't seem like there's any trauma there or anything that would make me remember a certain past life. But why is it that sometimes you can only remember like a few of them, or there's some that are more significant than others. Do you know what I'm trying to ask? Sort of thing, like some people will say, I can only remember my last 2 past lives, or something like that. So I'm trying to figure out, why is it that we remember, some from way before, or and then how can we remember some from
Maybe
like,
those were the most significant ones.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. What is that? So significant.
What's your
like,
take on that, Alan?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Okay, yeah.
You're exactly right. It all depends on how you've done your timeline this lifetime, and the
Okay.
past lives and that fit with that line. Those people you meet, the situation you're in, the country you're in, will all fit together and support that life, this life. And
Mm,
so you're right. It has to be the most significant ones that matter the most. In a past life, you may have had to learn something in Rome, but you're not going to learn that lesson this lifetime because you got
Mhm.
something else to learn.
okay.
And what goes along with that also is deja vu.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
go on a
that's
trip, you go to a town or a village and say, I've been here before. Because you're getting memories from a past life that you used to either live there or in that region. And we've all had that deja vu somewhere when we go on a drive or trip.
Yeah.
I've been here before.
yeah.
I had a neat story I can tell you really quickly, that I was working with a lady who said she went to Germany, and she went to a small village. It was a beautiful little village in Germany. And she said, I used to live in that, above the bakery there. I used to live in that room. And
Mhm.
so the husband said, you're nuts. And so she went to the bakery guy, and they were renting out the room. So she's, can I look at the room? Well, we went in, there was holes in the walls and everything. He says, well, I haven't got it all set up yet, but you can rent it once it's all done. And she says, that wall there, I need to break open that wall. And he said, well, sure, it's going to be torn out anyway. So she punched a hole in the wall and she pulled out this copper tube. And in that copper tube was music that she had written in a past life.
Wow.
And she said, can I have it? And he said, sure. And she took it home, and that was her proof to herself.
Wow.
Yeah, it gets very interesting.
And she said to her husband, don't you ever doubt me again.
We could. Okay, I could go with that one.
But you're right, Danny, there's so much. We can't even wrap our heads around the hugeness of the way the past lives can interact in our lives now to
Oh,
bring in
huge.
awareness and healing, and it's amazing.
It's huge. I mean, we always hear these stories in the news. This little 6-year-old boy is playing the piano like he's been playing for 50 years. How does a 6-year-old learn how to play the piano that well? He's bringing it from a past life,
Right.
right?
And time is not linear. If you had a wound from the past and it's messing with your life this lifetime, like you go back and heal it then, and then the next thing you don't have the migraines now because you healed the head wound. Time is not linear, and that's why past lives are so important.
Extremely.
And children will remember their past lives up to 8 years old. It seems like 8 years
Wow.
old is the cutoff point when they start to only care about what's in front of them. And the
Right.
youngest I've ever worked with is 4 years old. When you do a past life with a child who's 4 years old, you don't say, let's go back in your past life and see what's happened. Let's go back to the time before you met your mother. And we have complete success all the time. I was in a thing called a spook group back in 1982. And this lady, the father came in and he said, I was painting the bathroom, and my 3-year-old said, Dad, I want to paint. And he said, well, you're too young to paint. He says, no, I was a painter. And so he called the mother in and said, tell Mom and Dad, what do you mean you were a painter? I was a painter. They put me on a table. They cut me with a scalpel. I died. Where does the kid get the word scalpel, right? And I was working with a 6-year-old kid, and he had a blindfold on, and we went back in a past life, and he saw himself as a soccer player in Italy. And this 6-year-old kid goes, wow, women really like me. He didn't know what that meant, right? Then we went into the present, and we saw him as and now, and then we went into the future and saw him as an architect. So
Well, when
Okay.
I became an interior designer, and I don't have any background at all in that. And I just knew I knew how to sew everything. I knew all the periods of the furniture, and there's no explaining how I knew all that.
Yes,
I
there
just
is
did- I
past
just-
life,
Yeah,
Yeah,
except for
right.
that, right, yeah.
Right,
right?
yeah. I think if we all, when you get to a point where you just know there's so many things. I mean, I must have been I have a lot
Yeah.
of different avenues of, I was a social worker. I was, I
Yeah.
can cook. I mean, there's so many things that I know that people say you're talented, but it's not that you're talented. It's that you've probably had a lot of lives that you've done all this before.
Yeah, and you're tapping into it.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
Which
Yeah.
I think,
How can we tap into it?
You must have had some moments
With
there,
help.
Charlotte, the deja vu moments, or the moments where you meet somebody, you go, oh my God, I've known that person before. That's the start of
yeah,
it.
yeah. I have. I'd like to tap in and be able to play the ukulele or do something like that. you know?
Sorry.
Or the accordion.
I should
Yeah,
have
or be
muted
able
myself.
to sing or be able to,
Why do I have to take lessons?
I
I'm gonna
think
skip all that, okay?
That's so funny.
I think that a lot of it is, where we put our attention and letting it all in.
Right.
Mhm,
If
Exactly.
we put our attention on it, I mean, there would be things, sometimes I'd put a book under my pillow and sleep with it. And when I didn't understand something, and then the next day you can understand it. I mean, there's just so many ways we
Wow.
can tap in.
I have a
I'm trying to
question for
find
you.
I'm trying to find my
Sorry,
speaker because
what?
it's like disappeared.
It's-
You can't
you're
see me,
s-
right?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
we
can
can.
see you and
Yeah,
we can hear
yeah.
you.
Can
Yeah.
you see me on the screen?
Yeah, we see you now.
You look really good,
Yeah.
Lucy.
Yeah, you can. We're
I
jealous.
can't see myself on my own screen. I'm like, where the heck did I go?
Well, I can't see myself on my own screen. I
I'm
don't
kinda
know. We're all the
trying to
same.
raise my hand. I can't see my hand go.
Oh,
Anyways, I wanted to share when I was a kid, I used to swim at the bottom of the pool back and forth, and try to see how many times I could do it with one breath. And one time I was swimming, but I knew that to get to the surface of the water, I wasn't going to make it. I was going to end up like swallowing a bunch of water and stuff. So I thought, oh God, this is not good. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. And then just before I hit the surface, I went to take the big gulp because I ran out of air, but I end up breathing in the water. And so I stopped myself from reaching the surface and I stayed underwater and I just kept breathing the water. And I was like,
nice.
what is happening here? I'm breathing the water. And I stayed under there for a long time. And I
No
was
way.
even looking at the lifeguard and I'm looking at him going, are you going to come jump in and save me? Can you not see I'm under the water, breathing the water? I wasn't drowning or anything. I was just kind of like staying underneath. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to come up and then I'm going to go back under the water and see if I can do it again. So I did it. And again, I started breathing the water. I was in there for a long time. And
Really?
then I never told anybody about it. And, over the years, you've got Disney looking mermaids and, all these different type of mermaids you grow up with. And I was like, are they even real? Like, what's going on? So then one time at Franco's place, I was sharing, I'm like, yeah, when I was a kid, I had this experience where I was able to breathe the water. And he goes, whoa, do you still have that memory now? Can you still breathe the water? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. And he goes, I said, what the heck was that? He goes, oh, because you were a mermaid in another life. And I went, oh my God, I never even knew if they were real or not. I was questioning it.
They are.
I fly into Costa Rica and I set out my soul. I'm like, what the heck? What am I doing? What's going on? And the first beach I land on in Estadios, there's a massive statue of a mermaid out in low tide. And I was
Mhm.
walking the beach Franco had passed away that day I flew in. So I was like very discombobulated, and I started walking the beach, and there was the statue of a mermaid. I literally wanted to just drop down to my knees and say, wow, I am home. It was like, it was a home feeling. And then I realized, wow, this is where I was as a mermaid.
Mm.
I was sharing with Danny too. He's like, oh, you're supposed to work with these pyramids down at the bottom end of Costa Rica. I'm like, no, they have volcanoes here. They don't have pyramids. And he's like, oh, let's check. And then he goes, oh, they're under the water. And I went, oh, I said, did I tell you I was a mermaid in another life? He goes, well, that's why you're able to get to the pyramids under the water. I was like, oh, wow, what's happening here? But you know what? I have done a lot of past life releasing, regression, past life regression, whatever you want to call it. And I think many significant ones. But even when I was a kid, I always liked Greek mythology. I loved it. And then I had my son, and I named him after Alexander the Great. I named him Alexander. And then a few years ago, there was a bunch of us, bunch of light workers, went to Greece, and we went to the top end of Greece, and we had an amazing tour guide. And we were standing in front of all these statues, Apollo, Athena, and like all of them. And then I came up to Alexander the Great. Oh my God, it just shot right through me. And I was like, I was like, what is happening here? And then I called Franco, and I'm like, Alexander the Great, blah, blah, blah. He goes, yeah, 4 lives ago, you lived there. And then where the philosophers, all their podiums, we went into the area where all the philosophers spoke from their podiums.
Mhm.
And even when we went through there, I could feel the life that I had in that arena also.
Wow.
So it's beautiful when you can tap into it, because it also helps resolve, because I had my dementia friend who's in the long-term care. I had this overwhelming, I have to protect him, I have to take care of him, I have to this, I have to that. And I'm like, okay, what is happening? Why am I feeling and so compelled? And then I just stopped, and I tuned into what other life that we had. And 2 lives came up. One of them, I was a big brother, and I had to take care of him when we were brothers and young, like I was about 12 years old. So I had to take care of him. And then there was another life. It was playing out, but not as strong as that one. So then I went home, and I asked my roommate, Winnie, at the time, I said, Winnie, can you tune into what's going on between Armin and I? And if we, what do we got? Do we have any lives? So she tunes in, and she goes, oh yeah, you had 2 lives. And I said, very good. I said, which one am I playing out right now? She goes, oh, you were a big brother. He was your little brother, and you had to protect him and take care of him. I go, yeah, that's
There
it.
it is.
So then I released it, and then that was it. Then I had no longer that, overprotective, it was crazy what was happening. I was like getting angry at people and like, why are you treating them like that? And oh, I said, okay. So I was able to let it go. But that's what tapping into it and releasing it does in this moment in time when you're like struggling. It's like, where's this coming from? And the reason also when I was 15 years old, I was going through a lot of crazy stuff. And I thought, there is no way the amount of crazy stuff that I was going through was from this life. I said, this stuff has to be coming from somewhere else. But I knew even younger that I didn't come from here. I'm not from here per se. My galactic family and stuff like that. So I had to seek out, some help. Well, who am I going to talk to, right? I'm 15 years old. So I came across that book, and wow, did it ever help me? So that got me onto the path of clearing a lot of stuff that was playing out in this life that was extremely destructive. You know, it was making me like do some crazy stuff. So I was able to clear a lot of stuff.
Danny,
So, yeah.
Danny,
Yes,
you know, opened me up to some very disturbing things a couple days ago. And, you know, being able to keep yourself at an emotional state of neutrality almost,
mhm,
even though, you know, it was very disturbing. I, you know, cried and, you know, thinking about the pain and suffering and, you know, that we're all going to be experiencing with losing people, with the vaxes and everything. I think it really helps so much to put it in perspective of why we're here and what we're doing. Because I don't think, I mean, you know, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have been an absolute basket case over what I'm, you know, looking at possibly having to face, you know, with, you know, my children and they're vaxxed and pregnancy and, you know, doesn't look good. And
exactly. It's a tough time. Live in your
So-
hearts, pray.
I mean, I really appreciate it so much to get the perspective.
We just lost you, Tia.
Huh?
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
No, I said I just appreciated so much getting the perspective from Danny and, you know, trying to work through it and actually, you know, function in my everyday life and with, and I think that we're, you know, we're all going to hit this. We're going to, in fact, the people that I'm staying with, the woman at her job, a 31-year-old kid just dropped dead of a heart attack. And they're completely clueless, these people, completely. And so I was talking to one of the women, I said, yeah, that's myocarditis with these young people, and it's going to be happening over and over again. Like
Yeah,
this is going to be an
lots of it.
epidemic now. And
It is sad. Very sad.
it's
It's
just
gonna,
so
it's
sad.
gonna try our faith, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We're all gonna be tested, boy. How strong is our faith? But we do remember that they did choose this on a soul level. Most of them, I believe, have chosen
So did
this.
we, right?
Exactly.
Yes. Everything is
what?
done through agreement. Like, you know, you could be going through a lot of crazy stuff and you're like, why is this happening to me? Like, I would never want this to happen to me or even to someone else. But at the bottom line is you agreed to it. I agreed to it. Like, so
We did.
it's almost like don't shoot the messenger because they're actually serving us at a much higher level.
Exactly.
Because before coming here and tangoing or doing the entanglement, there was an agreement and we're like, and we were excited about it, right? We're like, yeah. Great, let's do it.
They didn't know how tough it's going to be down here.
Right, we didn't know.
We
I
didn't.
mean, but the ones who are playing the villain, it's a very tough role to hold. They also want to stop that.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
the contract, no matter if you're the bad guy or the good guy, you know, trying to get through as the good guy, trying to get through as the bad guy, is just as tough, you know, and that's why it's so
Okay.
important to
I'll shut it off then.
complete the contract. So you can both be released.
Exactly. I have a question for Alan. Is Alan still
Yeah,
there?
unmuted.
It's flying back and forth.
Hello?
Here he is.
Hello.
Okay, so let's see if we agree on this. So when you heal the past life issue and you heal the present life issue, are you healing all future lifetimes of that same issue?
I do believe that's true, yes.
So do I. That's why it's so important, I feel, to take care of those past life issues. You don't want to do them again and again and again. Let's resolve them right here, right now.
Hmm.
I think they're being made aware to us so that, you know, you'd be sitting in a bus going for a drive and all of a sudden you have this vision of you fighting in a battle or something. Yeah, and all of a sudden, you know, and so we got two things going on at once here, so.
Got three
And
screens.
therefore, all of a sudden you can clear up that past life right away.
Yeah, so we affect the past, the present, and the future in our healings.
Yeah.
That's why they're so powerful. Very powerful.
Danny, I'd just like to share that we had a fellow come several years ago, and he had been in the military in Afghanistan and captured and tortured badly.
Wow.
And they got him out and into the hospitals in Lahr, Germany, or wherever.
Right.
And they couldn't believe at how fast he healed. Now, sometimes Alan will go back, and at that time, if somebody has been hurt and wounded, they will heal everything back there, the bones, the blood, the tendons, heal it all then, and also integrate the soul of that person into the person, so any fragments that had been left there are left out. I believe because we did a healing in the now, in this life, well, you know, versus when he had the trauma, 15, 20 years before, it helped him heal then. Does that make sense?
You mean it was a present life healing?
Yes,
Okay.
because he had a couple things that were messing with him. So we went back and realized that it wasn't necessarily a past life, but it was this life that he had experienced it.
Many years
So
ago. Okay.
we healed it several years after that, really integrated the healing with the bones and all that, his jaw.
Okay.
So I think by doing that then helped him heal so fast back then,
Okay, interesting.
because time's not linear.
Right.
Mhm.
Wow, that is interesting.
Amazing.
How's he today?
How is he now?
Yeah.
Or oh, he's doing great. He's doing great. Elaine,
Awesome.
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. Wow, that's interesting.
There's one kind of thing I'll throw in here, that some of us are walk-ins or partial walk-ins. So
Mhm.
in other words, they have a near-death experience when they're younger, and because their life is really wrought or something like that, and they make a soul contract with a more highly evolved being, who actually, when they have a near-death experience, they move over to the left-hand side of their body, and a warrior comes to the right-hand side of their body, or the front and the back. And at that time, there's a walk-in situation, and the walk-in's kind of the warrior, and then there's the person who's in the left-hand side who's the real person. And when you have that situation, you have two sets of past lives. You have the warrior's past
Oh.
lives, and you have your own past lives.
Interesting. I haven't heard that
So
one.
Alan's taken somebody in for past life, and there he was, like, say 1800s in the Wild West and 1800s in another life, at the same timeline, a different person over in Scotland.
Okay. Interesting.
You know,
Wow.
you know what
I-
would be
yeah.
so, I think
Go
what
for it.
would be so cool
ahead.
if we could really tap in with people and write our history actually as it happened and not what we're taught. I wonder if that would be possible.
I mean, the history of the planet?
Yeah. You know, and
Kind of.
what
Coming.
what really happened, you know, when in the time of the Pilgrims coming to the United States, and what the government really, you know, how the government really, you know, took us captive back in 1870s. And, you know, it'd be really interesting to have people rewrite our history books, I think, that could remember.
The only problem with
during
that,
those life-
the only problem with that, there's a collective consciousness that has agreed to that is supporting that. And until you get everybody on board to want to change that, it won't change.
But I believe they call them the White Hats, the Alliance. They will be putting the truth out. And when that starts to happen and it goes out into the good mainstream media, then that collective consciousness will get past the cognitive dissonance and then all start to realize the truth. And who knows, there's the flash coming. The fifth dimension energies are going to be there. So people will be able to move into more of the truth and what has really occurred versus all the subterfuge and continuing changing histories.
Yeah,
Like,
then what Tia said, many people will start to listen to that. You know,
Yes,
more and
yeah.
more and more, and we'll start to
Realize.
hear the story from one person to another and go, yeah, knowing they really were there, and it will add to the history, right? Like you
Right.
said, like that makes total sense because,
So
yeah,
hold that vision, Tia.
I am.
right?
Yeah, and I do believe that we are integrating very quickly for the collective consciousness. I mean,
Very.
Yep.
yeah. And has anybody seen the movie, the movie that just came out on Died Suddenly? Have you
Yeah.
everybody seen that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Not yet.
yeah.
Oh my God. I watched it till like 3 o'clock in the morning last night, and it is very, it is so disturbing. But the good news about it is that there's so much proof, and it's getting out, and people
Yeah.
are starting to see. And you know,
I also want to mention that I did say that to Franco, the same question you had, Tia, regarding like, there's got to be like, is there like a book that has the real history? And he goes, yes, there is.
Nice.
He goes, and it will be revealed. I was
oh,
like,
cool.
oh, yeah. So
I don't know.
along
That'll
with
be an
every-
exciting one to read.
Oh, extremely.
Will we have to read it, or you think it'll just be downloaded to us all?
well,
Question.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
so does
But
anybody else?
there is a neat book that when each president of the United States becomes a president, he's given a book that is a book on what's the truth, what's really going on. And it's all about the corruption, who the evil people are and everything else. And if he ever tries to disclose that, he's killed, that type of thing. And it's given to every president, it's handed down
Wow.
and updated and everything else. Well, when Trump left office, he took the book with him. And then that's why they raided Key Largo. They're looking for the book because it's incriminating all these thousands of people.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then look at the reams of information in the Vatican that's been
Oh.
stored away. It's all coming out. All
It
coming.
is.
Yeah, I have a real problem. I think the thing that I don't agree with you guys is I have a real problem with believing that Trump and the White Hats are actually real. I do think that there are people from other planets, and that the collective consciousness and the light will win, and that and it's all up to us. I don't have faith in that. And it's very, you know, I don't have, I've seen too many I saw the documents from 2017 that Trump signed about the vaccines and the profits that he made on it and warp speed. And
How
I
true is it though?
I just can't, I can't wrap my head around it. And but I'm open to listening because I have so much respect for you, for all of you. And maybe I'm missing something.
It's okay.
That's like,
The truth will come out.
Different speeds, different timelines, different paths. you
different
know.
concentration areas,
Yeah, just there's
you know, like,
so many different ways we can go.
like
So
I,
I want to keep it on past life stuff and how it affects
go
our
ahead.
lives today, because we can talk about all that other stuff on another call.
Mhm.
But is there anybody else that has any questions regarding past life or want to share anything that you've gotten by doing past life regression or tuning into your past lives?
one thing I just want to say is that it was really cool. I had an experience with Danny, and then I also have had an experience with Alan. And with Danny, one of the things that he really works with me is like the clearing out of the some of the karma related to some of the past lives. Say, Danny. And that was really pretty powerful. And I, like what you were, somebody was expressing, maybe it was you, Tia. I went, when he was doing that with me, I gotta tell you, I must have cried. I don't know. It just felt like I was crying for a long time. It was just so cathartic to remove it, especially, you know, some of the stuff where, you know, then the next step was the forgiveness portion, right? You know, and that was part of it. And I thought that was pretty awesome. And then I had an experience with Alan where, you know, all kinds of stuff had been cleared by Danny. And so when we were doing the past lives, it was so much easier to really get to them. Alan, because there was hardly any kind of the karma left. We'd done so much work on it, on this life from the past lives. It was just like, wow. I don't know. It was just pretty powerful to, you know, also more than one kind of, I don't know if I want to call it recipe for getting there. Does that make sense? Because
Process.
yeah, because you know, Danny, you have a way, and then Alan had a way, and you know, so, and they really were. And then I know sometimes, you know, you talk to Lucie and you'll say something and she'll just go, yeah, that was from there. And you're like, what? And it's like, okay. So I guess where I'm going with that is that there's more than one way to kind of, is it skin a cat?
No,
Yeah.
don't say skin a cat.
Okay, yes, yeah.
It's like, no,
We gotta change our conversation.
no, I don't mean it like
Heard,
that.
but one's going, what is that?
I'm just trying to say that, you know, like so many people here are experienced in all of that. And it's just really great to kind of work with more than one because everybody brings different and complementary, you know?
Can I make a
So,
comment?
Yes.
Sure. Sorry, Dan.
So as someone is healed like yourself, Veronica, or whoever,
Yeah,
of these past life and present issues and future ones, you're actually helping the collective soul. Because as we release our stuff, our traumas, it's actually helping the entire collective
yeah,
because we're all connected. And so when you heal, Veronica, you've actually helped the collective to heal.
that's awesome.
It is. It's
Yeah.
very powerful.
Why it's so important to do our inner work.
Very.
That
We're not just doing
understanding.
it for ourselves, we're doing it for the entire collective.
When my
I-
daughter and when my
Wait, I
daughter
just
and
want to say, Tia, I understand. Sorry, go
Very
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
understand.
That's Caroline's slide. Anyway, go ahead, Tia. Sorry.
no, when my daughter and I did, we did an avatar course. It's a spiritual development
Mhm.
course. And after her 9 days, we were in the cab on the way home, and we've had a very extremely difficult relationship. She's 42 years old. It's just been, you know, very, very torturous, actually.
Huh.
And on the way home, she said, Mom, I think we are integrating all mother and daughter relationships on the planet. Now, at the time, that was over my head.
Right.
You know, she said that, and I thought, what? You know, and now here we are. You know, this is even 12 years after our first experience, and Danny brought that up to me, and then I remembered that she said that, and we're having a really difficult time right now, and I think that's right. I think we've got more to go. We've got more forgiveness. You know, there's more forgiveness, more love that has to be exchanged to, you know, break through. So
Wow.
Danny did some wonderful work on the whole situation. So I am very confident that we'll be healing all of this.
That's awesome, Tia.
And I'm so grateful to him. So grateful, Danny. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Good.
You're very
Charlotte,
welcome.
you want to share something? You have your hand up, Charlotte?
Yes, yes. I was fortunate enough to go for a visit to visit Catherine and Alan on Monday, just this week.
Nice.
And it was the most amazing, incredible, just out of this world experience. I
Yeah.
mean, just going into the house, I'm blinded by the crystals, and the energy is so high that I have to ask for relief because I have such a pressure on my forehead.
Wow.
And just to, to be in the presence of, well, two people is amazing. To have that much energy, and I don't know, I can't even describe the experience. And the amazing thing is that I was able to relieve present situations. Maybe not as much past life situations, but two incredible present situations. One where I had an ancestor sort of attached to me that was affecting my energy, that was not allowing me to have full energy, in the direction of happiness and joy and that kind of thing. And the second situation was where I was able to settle a situation with a member of my family that had passed. And I was able to come to a place of peace around that situation that has been, tormenting me. I won't say tormenting, that's a little bit strong, but certainly unsettling to me for most of my life. So it's just incredible. And then to be able to experience some past lives, it's just out of this world. It's just out of this. What can I? So I'm tremendously
It is for sure.
It is out of this world, isn't it? That's good.
Well, back in 1982, I could see a person's past life and talk to them about it, and they would think I was crazy, like I'm making it up. So I found with different ways, 7 different ways, to take people back into their past lives so they could see and feel it, and I can see and feel it with the person, and they never forget it for life. So that was my idea, and that's why what I do. It's shamanic because I can see and feel it with the person. But then, as a part of every session, we go to meet your spirit guides. So you're actually in the presence of your guides. You can hug them and talk with people who passed over. So that's a big thing, part of it there too. It's not just the past life stuff, because when you start doing energy work with anything, all of a sudden it opens up all sorts of healing things. And in many past lives too, our power was taken away from us. And so we bring that power back into the person. And that person maybe could be a massive healer in a past life. And they actually integrate that person, go back and pull that person who was the massive healer into their body right now. And they become that healer as well.
Yeah.
And Alan has always said it's the people's guides that bring the people to the facilitators who are to work with them. Because that person has the flavor of what is required, and they'll go to Danny or Lucie or me or Alan or Joe who does Reiki or whatever, and each one, the guides know where those people are to go.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I knew about where you lived, and I have been to Oompa before, a while back, but I wasn't ready. But it was, I was ready. Yeah. I was almost pushed to go. So
That was the
thank you so
guides.
much.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's pretty tremendous, isn't it?
It is.
Awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite line is that I made up myself is, I'm hired by the guides and paid by the people.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
I had another great teacher over the years. His name was Bijan, from the US, but what's his nationality? Iranian.
Yep. It sounds Iranian.
We were doing Bijan before Franco came on the scene. Actually, we were in Bijan seminars and Franco was a participant.
Oh my God.
And so Bijan, he had an interesting way of clearing. Was he would raise our vibration and get us laughing, always telling jokes. And we'd be like, no, we want to get on with something serious here. And he would always have this joke about it. And so, but his method, you could see him working every time our vibrations were up and we were laughing, we were now open. And that's when you could see him going like this and grabbing stuff and throwing it out or clearing all the time, right?
Okay.
But one session I was there and I could see a lot of beings in the room. And there was one particular soldier and I could tell you exactly what he was wearing and everything. And I was terrified to speak at the microphone, even though I was sharing my story for many, many years leading up to that. But every time I shared my story, I thought, for God, I was going to have a heart attack. Okay. Like the anxiety was,
Oh,
through the
God.
roof.
Wow.
I could literally like lose weight days prior to the talk. And it was like, what the heck is happening to me? And so I was in one of his sessions and of course I was seeing entities and all that. And then, so I got the microphone and again, I have the microphone and my body is hyperventilating. Like I'm going to hyperventilate to the point where I'm going to pass out in the chair, right? And he was at halfway down. I was sitting at the back and he started walking towards me. Now I've done a lot of work with Bijan. He was always a fun, loving guy. Okay. He wasn't very fun loving that day, but I was hyperventilating. I said to my ego, I said, I don't care if you have a heart attack and die. I am asking my question. And so Bijan was approaching me and he's like, ask your question. And he's saying it to me very sternly. And I'm looking at him like, what an ass. Like, can't he see I'm about to pass out? And then he approached me, came even closer. And I'm like,
Sorry, Lucy. I should mute myself.
starts walking towards me again. And again, sternly says, ask your question. But the second time he said it, I realized he's going in to help me get something here. And I went, okay, is it true that I'm seeing all these entities all over the place? And he goes, okay, your soul is telling me that you're ready to hear what the truth about what's going on. And there's 7 other people in this seminar today that were with you in the past life when this.
Look at her holding the mic.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lucy.
I know, eh? And then I'm like, oh, we're about to get the truth. What's happening? And he said, the only difference between you and the other people in the room is, he goes, have you ever heard of the witches that burnt at the stake? And I'm hyperventilating all the time that he's saying this. And as soon as he said that, boom, I cleared up. I'm like, yeah, because I used to read about them when I was 12 years old in the closet at my house. Like I used to like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I used to get my younger sister, I used to bring her into the closet. I'm like, you got to read this, check this out. And she's like, you're crazy. I'm like, no, this is really good stuff. I was about 12 years old. And as soon as he said that, I went, yeah, I know all about them. He goes, okay, well, the only difference between you and the other 7 people in the room is they told a friend where you told a relative. And that's who basically ratted me out, was a relative, and who ratted them out was a friend. And that's how we ended up in the square and we all got burnt to death.
Wow.
And as soon as he said that, I was clear. I was good to go. I stopped, my heart was back in my chest. I stopped hyperventilating. And then after that, I still continued to share my story. But I mean, now I just had the normal nervousness to share in front of hundreds of people, thousands of people,
Right.
where before I wasn't like ready to faint. And right after that event, I went to a friend's dance thing. There was a big dance. And she goes, oh, I want you to come and meet a friend of mine. I'm like, okay. She brings me to the back of the dance hall. I meet this woman sitting in the chair. And I said, oh, hi, how's it going? I put my hand out. She grabs my hand, stands up and goes, oh my God, we got burnt at the stake together. I've been looking for you.
Wow.
And I'm like, whoa, I just got that information a couple hours ago, still processing. That's another thing that's going on now. like 10 times more powerful now, is we are all looking for each other. We are all
Tribe is
Definitely.
coming together.
spirits looking to connect again, because
We're all
we knew
finding
that
each other.
time was happening. Now it's like we gotta group, we gotta come together.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about being on Cornelius, he mentioned that, because we're like 200-300 people on the call. He goes, 95% of yous agreed to be on this call to meet up again at this time. And I was like, whoa, because there's a love going on in this call, right? On
Yes.
the Cornelius calls and stuff. And we're like, wow, how did I meet this family? Like, what's this family all about?
Mhm.
So yeah, that's another thing about past lives and how we've already agreed. And now we're trying to find our
So
friends. Our
Vibe
tribe.
tribe, our vibe tribe. I keep
Right?
saying it, yeah.
And it's all about share it with somebody else that might be wanting to connect, or connect the person, let's bring everybody together all the time. And it's not about, oh no, I don't want you meeting them, and no, it's about, creating a larger family and sharing
Yeah.
what you got.
What was
So,
the
yeah,
story
I
about
thought
the soldier?
The what?
Sorry?
Sorry, Lucy mentioned the soldier.
Can't hear you.
The soldier, yeah.
Soldier.
Oh,
What
the
was the story
soldier.
about that?
The soldier, oh, I was an entity I was seeing in the seminar. I would see like entities from other lives. Like he was from the 1800s. He was standing there in his soldier uniform, and he was just coming in to say hello. But when Franco would do live seminars, I would never see an entity in the room. And I said that to him. I said, why is it that any other seminar I can go to, I can see entities from past lives show up from another lifetime? I said, but I never see them in yours. He goes, because I manage that.
Yeah, you don't allow them in.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, he goes, no, we got enough guides and spirits and all that.
You don't
We don't
need
need
more.
extra
You have to
people.
ask him, you have to ask his permission. Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh my God.
Go
So
ahead,
wonderful.
Sia.
I have a question. How do we, I mean, I have very good feel, like the information that Danny gave me a couple of days ago, at a level, I already knew it.
Yeah.
And it was a real confirmation, but I don't know exactly how do we, other than trying to stay at a high vibe with what, how we each individually work on those things. How do we increase our abilities to see things and to help others? What's your suggestion about that?
Good
Danny, you want to
question.
share about that?
Danny?
You gave me a question that's difficult.
What?
How about, well, for me, I can only really speak for myself. Different abilities just keep flooding in every few months. I get a new one. And I believe it's, we have all these in us already. Right? My gifts are obviously psychic and healing. And so I believe the vibrations on the planet, this planet is rising in vibration, that it's now at the vibrational level that supports me taking on that ability that I already had inside me.
Nice.
Yeah, okay.
And obviously on a soul level, I was ready to take on that ability.
I see. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes, and this is just my case, maybe it is the same for some of you others, is when the planet's ready for our gifts.
Right.
I believe that's part of the equation also. I'd like to hear Alan's and Catherine's spell on that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I just have to warn you, I'm at someone else's house out of town and I can't find my computer cord here. So if I drop off, that's why, but I hope I get your answer.
Okay.
I agree, Danny. When you're ready for the gifts, they will come
Right.
forward
Nice.
at right place, right time. Sometimes if you had got them earlier in life, you would have been too early. And it could have caused great distress for you and people around you.
You could have burnt yourself out.
Or you had other
Yeah.
roles to lead, raising children, whatever. Not to say that, you know, you could have had those gifts
Yeah.
then, but especially now, the planet has come into such lighter frequencies and continuing that these gifts are much easier to access and embrace and come through for us.
And like you said,
I
Catherine. the
think,
ones that
we're
we-
on our timeline. We have a situation where we before we were born, we looked down and we created our timeline. And at a certain time, we said, at this time we want to awaken, and the people will show up to help us with that awakening and stuff like that. But at the same time, our many things affect that. So I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Okay. And also, the collective is ready for us. See, I planned, what's behind me? I bought over 2 years ago because I was going to go online and do videos. I wasn't ready, or the planet wasn't ready till now. Now I post it, and now I'm on doing videos.
It's actually 2 years ago. For years and years, I was able to hear other people's thinking. I'd be in a grocery lineup. I'd hear everybody's thinking. It would be making me crazy. I'd be wanting, shut up, just shut up. Everybody stop talking. And I was like, oh God, I'm not saying nothing. They'll think I'm crazy, right? So I kept this like to myself for many, many years. I was like, okay, why am I hearing that person talk? And then again, something happened in a real estate that drove me to Mars and back. And I phoned up Franco and we started talking. And then next thing you know, I was having a lot of telepathy coming in strong, strong, strong. And I was also able to remote view. And I was also able to tap in at soul level as to timelines when you're checking out, what time frames and what's going on, right? And so I called Franco up and I said, you know what? I think I can hear other people's thinking. So we did some work around that. He goes, okay, well, let's tune into that. Let's check in. And he goes, so do you feel at a soul level that this is correct? But my ego, it was like, I am not admitting to this. Like, this is crazy stuff, right? And so again, but when I finally admitted that I have been doing this my whole life, it was like 1,000 pounds came off me because I was crazy. I was justifying. I was trying to rearrange. I was trying, you're twisted up like a pretzel, trying to manage the abilities, right? And then as soon as
You weren't ready.
you release it, you acknowledge it, and then it's like, okay, so I'm not crazy. And from that moment on, so then we had a seminar. He had a week function there. I think that's where I met Charlotte. But anyways, we did a meditation, one of the first meditations. Well, I was in the back, a couple, our friends of mine, they were sitting in the front. And through the whole meditation, I was in their home that they are renovating, and they were showing me around and telling me everything that they did, what they also needed to do. And so at the end of the meditation, I went, oh, okay, cool. So at the end of the meditation, I went over to them. I'm like, hey, you just showed me around your house and everything that you've done and what you needed to do. And then Franco overheard me. He go, and then she goes, what? I said, yeah. And I told him what kind of wood they used, what room was done, what all the things that they said to me, right? And then Franco goes to the front of the room. He goes, okay, I just want to let you know, be careful. Lucie's able to hear your thoughts. And I'm like, oh my God, here, I just released it, just acknowledged it.
That's fine.
Oh my God. So it's okay to have fun with it too.
So do you have it under control now?
I have it under control now. There are
Yeah.
times where I'll be hearing stuff and I'm like, no, I don't want to hear this. And there's other times where I am picking up on some information that is like, you would be telling me one thing and it's not the truth, but I'm seeing who you've been and how you've been behaving that is the truth and it's not what you're saying to me. And that would show me, I would be shown videos, like a little movie. And I would be like, and you could still be saying this as your truth when it's not what I'm receiving. So that was another thing I had to trust in myself to know what the information that I am getting is the truth. And then, because I had to run it by Franco, I was like, okay, she's saying all this, but I'm getting all that.
Right.
And he goes, well, that is the correct. And then
Yeah,
eventually
bypassing the ego.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, it's funny that you're saying that, Lucy, because it was going to see Alan, and Alan saying in my one past life that you were my mother. I was all of a sudden, don't tell Lucy that. And then when Lucy and I talked about it afterwards, it was this realization of, because she'd say that sort of stuff, what you just described to me. She'd say, well, that's not the truth. And I'd be like, I'd act like a 5-year-old receiving the message from her. Or she would. So, and then once we
I'd be over
discovered
here
that.
like, why is she resisting me so much? Like, what is going
Sorry, we're
on?
listening to her mother.
Oh my God, it was so funny.
Like,
And then
I just felt like I needed to ground her or like
And
have
then-
her
yeah.
room.
Yeah, and she
anymore.
wouldn't, she didn't also know that she'd been my mother in a past life until
No.
Alan told us. And then when I came back, I said, listen, it made total sense. So now it flows way better. It
Yeah.
doesn't have
You
that
know, that's-
dynamic anymore, right?
Right.
Because
Exactly.
and that's why I think right
That
there
was
is a
like-
prime example of if you know
Right.
if you get to that past life and you know those people that are in that core with you, how they are, what they have been for you, then you just break through all that and you do have that, what we have, that dichotomy now that you need to have in order to go forward. So she'll say, well, that's not exact. I'll go, oh, okay, I can hear that. No, or I'll say something to her and she'll be, I don't have to strangle you anymore. Like it's just changed it. So it's a very good example
Very
right
good.
there.
Learning your past lives.
I was like, don't tell Lucy. It's funny. Anyway, thank you for
Well,
that.
Catherine and I have not had any children this lifetime, but we met 4 girls that were our children in a past life in Egypt. We had a mystery school and they call us mom and dad. They got us t-shirts that say, I see dead people. And they just love us. And
Wow.
Catherine was doing a past life to find out about something. And she found out that one of the daughters was married to me in a past life. So I said, look, make sure that you don't tell Ida that I was married to her in a past life. First email, guess what? Dad was your, husband in a past life. And she goes, oh, great. What do I call him? Honey or dad or daddy? But anyway, what I've seen to with people is that reincarnated wise, I've seen many people who are angels in human form. I've also seen many people who are fairies in human form and mermaids in human form, right? And Catherine was a fairy before she became a human. Thousands of years ago, they said, do you want to become human? She said, that's too violent. So she became a fairy before she became a human.
And I've been
Nice.
a mermaid too.
And then she became a mermaid, then she became a human, right? And I've also met 26 people who are full dragons in human form. And also
Wow.
22 people who are half dragon, half human. So there's all these things coming together now with
Wow.
all the different
That's
type of
right.
creatures and beings we've ever had in the history of the earth coming together to be part of the whole scenario now and help. And also
Right.
we go back and sometimes we see a person as a creator god. Before when the earth is being created, they help work with the wind and the sun and the water and the rocks and the trees and the animals and everything to get this place prepared for the great experiment that's going to happen.
That's
And they were
awesome.
there at the beginning to get Earth going. And now they reincarnated now to help Earth when she completes her final mission.
Right.
Yeah,
they
and some of us
almost like
know
a-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of us really know that. Like it's like when you open it up, I guess, with the past lives, what you were saying, like you all of a sudden know what role, part of what role you're carrying. Like I know I'm here to help the planet. I know I'm here with the trees. I know I'm here. You know what I mean? And that only came from doing this work. So it's wow.
It's eye-opening.
I thought,
Right.
Lucy, you were going to tell us when you were a mermaid that you were a fish. But you
No.
probably might have been a fish one life. Who knows, right?
I passed right to a mermaid. No, but I was told that I was part of the structuring of the planet as an Elohim.
Wow.
An
Yeah.
Elohim.
Oh,
The
wow.
creators of form. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about a fish. A lady came to me who was pregnant, and women who come to me who are pregnant will come purposely to find out how they knew the child in a past life and what talents it had, so that
Wow.
all of a sudden they don't have to go through a whole lifetime of figuring what they want to do. They've already got the information and they can help their
Wow.
child grow with that. So it's beautiful. But this one lady came who was pregnant, and we went back in a past life and saw herself as a 50-foot whale. And the baby whale beside her was the child who's going to be born to her now.
Oh,
And as soon as I saw that, she saw that, she said, well, that makes sense. I went, what do you mean that makes sense? She goes, well, I was in Mexico last week, and we had a house over the bay and the ocean, and there were humpback whales swimming in the ocean. In the middle of the night, I heard them saying to me, "You're one of us. You're one of us. You're one of us."
oh, wow.
So then we went back in that past life, and she was beached, and so she came in. This lady, this is back in the 1100s or something. She was beached, and this lady on a horse came up to her and hugged her eye, because she was beached, and she said, "Don't die, don't die. I'm going to help you." So a couple of hours came by, and they brought these guys with horses, and they had ropes, and they're going to pull the whale back out to the ocean, right? But the whale died. But then all of a sudden, I said, that woman who helped you there, when you try to help an animal and make it stay alive or give your life towards that animal, and you could risk your life for that animal, and it survives or whatever, or it dies, that animal can be a human being the next life. And so I said to her, that person who helped you there is your sponsor. Sometimes you're a fairy and then you become a human, and that person you're attached to will be your sponsor for every lifetime after that. And I said to her, who's that woman who helped you in a past life? She goes, and her sister sitting beside her and said, "It's me."
Wow.
So basically, we have people who are sponsors who helped us get going as a human, and it's responsibility just to meet them either as a friend or a relative every lifetime to hit that bond again.
Nice.
Very cool.
One thing about past lives too is that a lot of people are afraid of going back into past lives, so they're worried about them seeing themselves burned at the stake, for instance. And I've had dozens of people burned at the stake, including myself. And as the fire comes up to greet you, to take you in a past life, your spirit leaves your body, and you don't feel that pain.
You don't feel.
I remember I was burned at the stake by the Quakers as a Seminole Indian in Florida, and as the flames came up, I looked to the sky. There's these two arms reaching for me, and my spirit left my body.
Yeah.
And also, if you're going to go,
So
and
you don't feel the pain.
you don't feel the pain. So as you're going to land, you fall off a cliff and you're going to die in a past life, your spirit will leave your body and watch yourself hit, but not have that pain. It carries on this lifetime. And Catherine was in a grove of the 6 guys were coming to kill her and rape her in her past life. And she was in this grove, and there was no way out. There was no way out. They were going to rape and murder, and there's no way to go. She said, "You're not going to do that." And she died and left her body.
Wow.
So she didn't have to experience that.
Never heard this before.
That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, you know how shamans can just transition. It's time, they just let their spirit go.
Right.
So I totally believe, again, if you're an old soul, it's very easy to do, should you choose.
Right. Makes actually a lot of sense. Wow. Well,
Very interesting.
very good.
Beautiful.
I had a wonderful little thing happen. I was in London before BC before Catherine. I was in London, Ontario, and I was hired to go to a very rich lady had a beautiful big mansion and all these important people in London, and she hired all these people to have an evening of psychic stuff. So there was tea leaf readers, there was Reiki people, there was tarot card readers, and I couldn't do past lives there because they're very private. But I was told to walk around and just talk about past lives, so I did. And at 12:30, she says, "Alan, you did a good job. People really like what you said. Here's your money. You can go. And by the way, I don't believe in past lives." And I said, "Well, I totally get that. I totally respect that. But your soul knows it's true. And so does your higher self and oversoul know it's true. And your guides know it's true. And quite a few billion people around the planet know it's true. It's just not part of your reality yet. And she went, rolled her eyes, right? She, well, if you can do a past life, do a past life on my 4-year-old son. You know, this is 2005. And I said, okay, I had nothing to lose. So I said I said, go back in the time before you met your mother. What happened before you met your mother? He says, well, I was in the Twin Towers. I fell out of the Twin Towers and I watched myself fall. And just before I hit the ground, my spirit left my body and watched myself hit the ground. I looked at her and said, is that good enough? And I walked out.
That's something.
There was just
Very
a video
good.
I watched. It was about a boy who fell out of the Twin Towers. And he was trying to tell his mother, like, he had a phobia of planes and big towers. And then finally they figured out. And then he was able to share the story about how he literally fell out of the window as it was crashing down. And that's
Wow.
how he died. And
Danny told us a story the other day about this little girl in the store, Danny. And what did you say she said to her mom?
Well, yeah, it
About
was
fighting?
post. So the mother took the daughter, the 6-year-old, shopping. And in the store, there was some people fighting.
Yeah.
And the little girl looks at her mother. This is the last time I come to this planet.
There you go.
So she has a knowing.
Yeah.
Very
Same.
cute. She's a starseed.
There
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
go.
Quite
Wow,
a
what
few
an
years ago,
interest-
one of the locals brought their son who was 10 years old. And if there was a storm coming up, he wouldn't go to school. They couldn't get him to go. He said, I'm not going. So anyway, comes to his past life and finds out in the past, there was a major storm, like hurricane, and the buildings had come down and cars flying around and fallen on him. And Alan goes in and says, okay, that was back then there. This is not going to happen now. And after that, the kid could go to school without any problems. And now he's 25, 26, no problems ever since.
See?
Just other problems.
Yeah. Well, I had a
was good.
situation too where Kath and I we were so busy that we had a bed and breakfast thing. We'd hardly get enough time to wash the sheets before another group would come in. And this family called and they said, gosh, our son wants to commit suicide. He's taken the mother out the back shed. He's got the rope. He's got the chair. He said, I don't want to commit suicide, but I feel I have to. So they came, in between clients and I didn't do a past life. I went to meet his guides. We went into the safety of his guides and just outside of the light, his light was this really dark forest. And I said, gosh, what do you feel about that? He goes, it's really evil. And I said, is it bothering you? He said, that spirit wants me to commit suicide. And I said, well, track it back. And he said, 1503, I was in a duel.
Oh my God.
And this guy was a professional dueler. He made money and riches and women and everything else for what they would hire him to duel for them. And he would never miss. He was always good. But by accident, the kid told me, by accident, I shot him. And this kid had never done any past life stuff before in his life. And he says, so every lifetime since then, that man has been trying to get him to kill that child or kill himself, right?
Oh.
And so we talked for about 7 minutes with this guy and said, look at your this revenge thing, you're missing out. You got to reincarnate. You can have all the women you want and money, and everything. And finally I said, you're stupid. Just go into the light. And he went into the light. Everything's fine. So all of a sudden that kid had no urge to go and kill himself. Then we had his guides in front of him. There's this woman in front of him, young woman. I said, what do you feel about her? He's 15 years old. He says, she's nice. I said, she's better than that, isn't she? He goes, yeah, she's hot. And I said,
and he got all blushed.
and I said, a guide that you have now, you can be a human being and a spirit guide by somebody at the same time. That woman who's a guide right there could be your future twin flame, the one you're going to marry. And he said, yes, she says she is. I said, what does she feel about you committing suicide? She said, you can't do that. We've got to raise 3 kids yet. He was only 15 years old, so there was into the future.
And we found out
Yeah.
The father said within several days, like there was complete change, but we found out several years later he'd met the girl and they were getting married, and we now know there's 2 kids there already.
Wow, isn't that
Wow.
something?
Past
Yeah.
lives.
It's
What a
unlimited.
great,
Amazing how.
what a,
So
Well,
this was a past life where the soul had not died. And sometimes a soul will die and not get to the light, afraid of going to hell, die so fast they don't know they're dead. Grief could hold them on morphine or drugs, Alzheimer's. So they get
Wow.
stuck in between. And if there was an agenda, it'll bleed over onto the person that's there. If there is an emotion, sadness, depression, an addiction, go drink, go gamble, take the drugs, and that can hang around. So in this case, that soul entity was hanging around, and we've seen it in many cases. So then you go back and find out what was going on, which includes the past, and then move them to the light.
nice.
And once they're in the light, they get no judgment, the life review, they're cleared, and then they can reincarnate, come back, and it
Your son.
makes a difference.
So question, does this go over lifetime and lifetime until it's cleared?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah.
Wow.
Often the person could clear it on their own, but it's always nice to have somebody who can, help them see what they really need to know. And one of the greatest gifts any healer can do is show a person what they already know, that
Yes,
type of thing.
yes.
Yes. Okay. Well,
Okay, so
Lucy,
been an awesome call. It's already an hour and a half, and if I don't cut you guys off, we're gonna be here all night. So thank you
Very
for all the
good.
sharing. Any last questions if you have to ask? And so Danny is available for one-on-one sessions. Alan is available for one-on-one sessions.
Lucy's available.
I'm also available for one-on-one sessions.
And Catherine.
Catherine, yeah,
Catherine.
Catherine does incredible work myself. I've been listening to you guys without being able to see myself on this screen, so I hope it
Oh.
shows up properly on the
Lucy,
recording.
do.
you're beautiful.
We'll see you now.
I'm loving your top with pink and lime green, and you're gorgeous.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Nice tan.
Yep.
Yeah, nice thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so what else can I say? So yeah, this gets uploaded onto the YouTube, so I'm gonna put the YouTube link in the recording so that you guys can go there and subscribe and like, and also we're going to start putting the donation button up there if you're wanting to donate. This also, we want to create, it's done on Cornelius to help out with anybody who has money blocks, is to pay it forward. So if you've gotten any value tonight and you feel that you want to give back, you can pay it forward. So if you're in a store, you're buying a coffee, you can pay it forward by buying the next person their coffee. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can do it that way. It's not about, oh, this value was worth this much. No, it's all about the intention behind paying it forward. So
Exactly.
it could be $1 or it could be $1,000. It doesn't matter. It's about paying it forward. Okay. So we want that. So that also helps up break all your money blocks. And so please subscribe and like. And is there anything else, Danny, that you can think of that you want to mention?
I don't know. Do you want to say a closing prayer or any?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I haven't heard anything from Joanne or anybody from the crew, so I don't know what the report is. I've been trying to. She's close to leaving this plane. Okay, so
Oh,
she's
boy.
close to leaving this plane.
You know her,
So-
Daniela, too?
Yeah, I read it while we were on the call.
Yeah, so she's part of the Franco group. So let's put her in the prayers. And Danny, if you would love to close it out for us tonight.
I just wanted to, because we're talking about this, there was mention tonight about people being jabbed and what's happening and
Mhm.
young people dying, but we're seeing it a lot with people who are not jabbed also. A lot of people leaving the planet.
Yeah, making that
Yeah.
choice.
We have in our own group, we've had several, including Franco,
Right, leave the
just
planet.
over a year ago. And there's more people in my life that are maybe not in the group, but even in the group itself, I mean, it just,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
Leaving the planet at this time.
Yeah.
And some of them, as I know, as a friend of mine who passed away, and we all wondered why him, because he's a light worker, he's a beautiful soul, great knowledge. And we got a message from him on the other side, and it was, I can do more work for the planet over here than I could as a human. So some of them make the decision to leave this physical form because they can do far more work on the other side,
It's true.
right?
True story.
Does happen. Okay, so you want me to start?
Yes, please, Danny, take it away.
Okay, call on you, Father, Mother, God, and Lord Jeshua at this time to shower your love and your light on all of us here on this planet at this time. Assist those that are ill, who may be dying, who may be in great pain, and to healing and to understand that this is not the life that it ends, it continues, that there is life on the other side, that this is just a temporary shell that they carry in this lifetime. And so we asked also to assist them on their journey in an emotional way, for emotions are very high on the planet at this time. There's great turmoil, there's great fear. May you assist us in alleviating the fear and any angers and the emotional traumas that we are suffering at this time, so that we may have a clear mind and clear spirit, so we may contact you and be with you. And we thank you for this wonderful gift of assisting all of us on this planet at this time, for this great shift in consciousness that is happening. For we know you're with us and you're in us. We thank you for this wonderful gift. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and with that, we will see you next week with
Mhm.
the topic. And please invite your friends. And thank you for everybody who shared. And I love you guys. And we
Luce,
You-
are we allowed to ask for a couple of subject matters?
yeah.
Like,
Give us a
like I'd like to know more about like the codes, like light codes or any of that kind of stuff. And you know, a little bit to do with like light language, and then also dreams.
Great. So
I don't know,
put
I
it
just
down.
want to throw those out there.
Yeah, suggestion.
Yeah.
And that way we can create a topic.
You have a
Right
suggestion
on.
box, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Email us.
Good luck.
Guys,
Bye.
we will see you next week. And
Lots of love.
Thank you, Lucy.
all right, take care.
Daniela,
night,
good luck with your
Veronica.
move. Good night. Love you, Danny. Love you, Kat.
Bye.
Love you, the green machines.
We
Daniela,
love
good
you,
luck
Miss
with you.
Green, and all of you.
We love you
Thank
all.
you, Danny. Thank you.
Lucy, great job on this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you
And
did a
Danny,
great
yes.
job.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, I can't
Well,
wait.
As
it
a
was a
facilitator,
collective
and
effort.
Danny, it was you're a superstar.
I'm just sharing
yeah.
what I know, and that's all.
God,
Yeah,
it's
you
Love
awesome.
you all.
All
Good
right,
luck with your
guys.
move, Daniela.
thank you so much.
Love
Bye.
you all.
Bye. Bye.
Good night.
Bye, Charlotte.
I know.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.